Good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody this morning. I would like to call the April 8th, 2025 Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. The first thing we have this morning is we have Commissioner Peters joining us virtually, so I would like a motion to... Okay, second from Commissioner Eggers, or I'm sorry, motion from Commissioner Eggers, second from Commissioner Flowers. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, welcome Commissioner Peters.
Morning.
Okay, next we're going to have the invocation led by Commissioner Scheer, followed by the pledge led by Commissioner Eggers.
Dear gracious and heavenly Father, we ask for your blessing upon this meeting and your guidance as we seek the good for those we serve in this county. May we be filled with your vision, wisdom, with good stewardship, and with grace. And I pray for your blessing upon each and every colleague on this commission, upon their families, and upon their loved ones. In Jesus' name I pray.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Commissioner Scheer. That was very nice. Okay, next we have citizens to be heard. Or actually, before we do that, I wanted to, since we always seem to forget this at the end, I wanted to thank Deputy Manley and Deputy Winnick from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office for keeping us safe this morning. And now we will go on to citizens to be heard. You'll have 3 minutes. First, we have John Ryman. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is John Riemann, and I'm a public policy and administration student at St. Petersburg College. I'm a Pinellas County native and soon-to-be father. I'm here today to present my capstone project, which focuses on student safety and transportation efficiency in Pinellas County. With our growing population and more than 14 million annual visitors, traffic congestion and pedestrian safety have become critical concerns. While tourism and density drive economic growth, they also present challenges, particularly traffic flow and the safety of one at-risk population, our children. Every day, drivers face frustrating delays and gridlock caused by scattered school bus stops, but far more importantly, some children are put at serious risk as they wait just feet away from fast-moving traffic. This isn't just an inconvenience. This is a safety issue that demands our attention and action. Therefore, my research focused on the feasibility of updating development regulations and offering incentives to incorporate designated school bus stops and pickup areas, what I've deemed safe stops, into large residential developments. Safe stops would reduce the number of children waiting along unprotected roadways and help limit the number of inefficient school bus stops, improving both safety and traffic flow. I've interviewed several subject matter experts, including transportation engineers, developers, and planners, who offered support, potential implementation challenges, and practical ideas, such as using elongated deceleration lanes and student waiting areas. By integrating these areas into early stages of development and redevelopment, we can design a safer and smarter county. Additionally, I developed a community survey which showed that 52% of respondents supported the idea of safe stops, and nearly half said school bus stops are rarely or never considered in development. This reveals a clear policy gap and an opportunity for leadership. Therefore, I recommend the board launch a pilot program to explore regulatory updates and incentive strategies for safe stops. I also suggest establishing a work group through the Development Review Services and incorporate and coordinate with the school board and local stakeholders to outline design standards, cost-sharing models, and potential incentives like impact fee credits or fast-track permitting. In closing, safe stops offer a forward-thinking solution to protect children, ease traffic, and support smart, safe growth in Pinellas County. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Carl Gislak, followed by William Johnson. I may not have pronounced this last name correctly, but do we have a Carl anywhere in the... No? Okay. William Johnson, followed by Greta Finney.
Good morning, County Commissioners. My name is William Johnson. I understand that there's a subject that wasn't going to be talked about today about censorship in the public library, but I just wanted to offer my personal perspective. My name is William Johnson. I'm 37 years old. I'm a proud resident, LGBTQ plus resident of Pinellas County. I live in the Clearwater area. Aside from the 2 years I've lived in this county my whole life. Originally, I planned on talking about a letter that I wrote to you, but since that discussion, has been tabled, I'd like to take a moment to share my personal perspective instead. I grew up in Pinellas County school system, first at Tyrone Middle School, then at Northeast High School. At that time, support groups like Student Straight Gay Alliance were just beginning to appear. I knew from a young age that I was different, but I kept that a little bit rough. I kept that part to myself. I wasn't safe until college when I came out to my family and friends. What I've learned since then is how important representation and access to information truly are. Had I seen myself reflect in books and resources around me growing up, I might have found the courage to live my authentic self much sooner. That's why our public libraries matter so much. They are more than shelves of books. They are spaces of exploration, learning, and discovery. They help people understand the world and, just importantly, themselves. Everyone deserves access to that opportunity. Libraries are pillars of the community. They provide resources, education, and a welcoming space for people of all backgrounds. Censoring what they offer, especially materials that speak to diverse initiatives, sends a harmful message that stories are not worth telling. We must protect our public libraries regardless of politics or leadership. They belong to everyone, and they play a crucial role supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion in our communities. So today I ask you to stand firm protecting freedom to read, protect the freedom to learn, and protect the rights of everyone to see themselves reflected in the world around them, because when we silence voices in the library, we silence the futures outside of it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we have Greta Finney, followed by Alicio Santana. Good morning.
Good morning. I have to bring this microphone down. My name is Greta Finney. I'm in unincorporated Largo. I would like to thank you all for tabling Commissioner Nowicki's resolution on during the last business discussion on the over-assertion of authority on the Palm Harbor Public Library. I think I'm still too short. Here we go. Why not turn our attention to key issues in the county? We have several things that really do draw our attention. One of them is the devastation after the storms and the financial impact and the difficulty it is to recoup the costs of repair. That's like a big thing. I think it merits commissioners' attention more than a display in a library. So I would like to say that instead of focusing on key issues, when we look at calling for a strategic plan that's free of diversity, equity, and inclusion, we aren't doing our community any favors. We aren't doing the LGBTQ community, and we're not doing our community in general any favors, because we need to communicate that we are made up of a diverse group of people. It's not just one group that defines what a family is and how it functions in Pinellas County. So this all came about because of a rainbow heart and a Lego set. This Lego set at the public library. This Lego set was upsetting to a commissioner, but I don't see why. It's colorful, it's fun, it's got 346 pieces to it, and it does communicate in a very friendly way that people are different. People can put this thing together differently, and that's how our community is. It's put together differently. And it's not up to a single standard to define that. So instead of targeting visual displays and posters and events and hiding all that information, not banning, no, but hiding, burying this information, making it tough for a child to see the importance of diversity, we need to make that available. We need to make a safe spot in our libraries for children of all varieties, because they are our future, and we need to give them the safest, best future we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Alicio Santana, followed by David Ballard Geddes Jr. Morning.
Good morning. My name is Eliseo Santana, and some of you know me. I've been a resident of Pinellas County since I got out of the Army in 1980. So I guess that I'm not only a Floridian, but I'm also a, what do you call it, Pinellan? And I want to thank each and every one of you that have worked with me in the past to make our community safer. I'm currently serving our community as the manager for the Gulf Coast for an organization called Alianza, which is a 501c3 organization. And we do not provide direct services unless they're necessary and they're needed. We try to build community, and we want to enhance the Hispanic community to be able to participate in all of our functions. Pinellas County is a very unusual county. As a matter of fact, it is the only place that I know of that the Hispanic community is truly integrated into the community. We have an equal distribution of Hispanics throughout all of the different geographic areas, the economic areas. There are a few pockets that are identified as Hispanic, but that's just a few pockets. The general population is out there. We do not necessarily participate in the services that the government offers or other people offers, basically for many different reasons, but it's because we don't trust. And I saw this situation during the hurricane where I had a family with a baby carriage walking through my neighborhood. I'm within looking distance at Dunedin Middle School, which is a shelter, and I asked them, what are your plans when the hurricane hits? And it says, we have no plans. I said, well, what if you have to leave your home? And they said, well, we don't know. And I said, do you know where your shelter is at? And they did not know. All of this information is available to them in Spanish. It's available to them. They can seek out. But it requires a trusted organization like Alianza to reach out and touch them and to guide them and to show them. And not only that, but there's a lot of resources that we as a county offer that they need and they do not have. Please look at me as Alianza as your trusted partner in making sure that our community participates in using the resources that we allocate that are needed and they need. Thank you.
Thank you. David Ballard Geddes Jr., followed by Joseph Sivak.
Hi, good morning. David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. Based on Pinellas County Resolution 95-286, Section 4C-2, stating absolute bill of sale, full warranties of title, and release of lien, the county has been sold to the Water District in a 30-year fee simple title transfer as reflected in statute law, transferring the function and powers of the county in Home Rule Charter Section 2.04Q in such sale. The county, using a quid pro quo agreement with the Water District, is intending to shapeshift the county from its fortnighted statehood into a politically laundered watershed operation, dissolving the county, eventually giving rise to individual despotic water jurisdictions under the 14th Amendment. Truthfully, our current Constitution is a useful hold, seen as a useful art for limited times, capturing, bankrupting the water supply as reflected in Article 1, Section 8. George Washington, in his farewell address, states that we are being given a useful lesson on our heads. The county, in its sale to the water district, has null and void its own property tax lien. The ad valorem is no longer valid. As the county is being dissolved, the functions and powers of the county millage are systematically being transferred, giving rise to a non-ad valorem water district levy. Such unduly elected levy is not based on the millage rate as reflected in Statute 197.3632. The assumption of what is in the bill is a despotic direct tax as enumerated from Article 1, Section 2 of our current Constitution, using this Constitution to manifest this Constitution, all the while declaring itself to be divine and provident. The reasoning of this is no good. This is no good. Your money is no good. Such contrived and invoked powers are soon to be dismissed. Absent such constitutional undertakings, a benevolent system of government is soon to take shape, respecting the health, the safety, and the welfare of all the inhabitants of this continent, respectful of the ecostructure, attentive to future generations, and in support of Almighty God. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Joseph Sivak, followed by Stephen Walker. I apologize if I didn't get your last name correct.
Sivak, thank you. Good morning. I'm the manager of West Wind 1. It's a resident-owned community. We're in Dunedin, about a mile north of Honeymoon Island. We are a mobile home community. It's housing for older persons. The residents own the community. They own the land. They own the common area. We were impacted by flooding during Hurricane Helene. On October 5th, we got visited by representatives from the county. They deemed our houses, every single one was deemed to be able to be occupied. So we got together, when we went to work, we fixed all our houses up. Because we were a private entity, we couldn't get public assistance for trash removal. So we went and did all our own, went through private carriers, and we got all our streets cleaned in time for the next hurricane, which was about 10 days later. Our homeowners put a lot of money into refinishing their homes. And then in March, 5 months later, we were hit with substantial damage letters. We were just thinking in February that we were finally getting back to normal. And then this happened. We've also been in contact with other mobile home communities through the county. We just want to figure out how to be a part of the solution. We get it's a unprecedented situation. I think Mr. McAndrew from the county, from the building department, and Commissioner Scott, I know you're gonna come visit our property. We just want to get it out there. We just want to help and be a part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Walker, followed by Steve Lounsbury. Morning.
Good morning. I'm a 25-year resident of Pinellas County, live in unincorporated Seminole. My wife and I were flooded during Helene, and have since received a substantial damage letter. Also finding out a lot about this, we are on the seaward side of the limbo line, which means we have to rebuild to standards that are much higher than most, including frangible slab, breakaway walls, vents. Pinellas County is waiving permitting fees for people that are remodeling homes, but not for people forced to rebuild, as I've been told by the building department. I would just ask that you reconsider. I mean, I'm not an investor, homeowner, and feel like we deserve an opportunity to benefit from the commission, building department, waiving permitting fees and potentially expanding that even longer than the June 1 date, especially given that we didn't receive our substantial damage letter until last month. And between permitting and architectural fees, we are looking at many months beyond that to even start to rebuild. So would ask for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Lounsbury, followed by Chris Steiner.
Mr.
Actually, Steve Lounsbury is actually on the phone.
Yep. Mr. Lounsbury, please press star 9 so that we can unmute you. Once you are unmuted, please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you for including me on today's agenda. My name is Steve Lounsbury. I'm a retired professional engineer living in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My wife and I purchased a mobile home in Sun Retreat, Dunedin, 2920 Alt 19, Lot 47, about 8 years ago, and we spend about 5 months a year in this home. Hurricane Helene did cause damage in our home. Despite being elevated about 4.5 feet above ground level, we had 1 inch of water inside our home. The damage resulted in the need to replace the ground level AC compressor condenser, about 500 square feet of laminate flooring and associated quarter round. And we also have to replace floor insulation under 60% of our home. Much to our surprise, we were advised in early February that based on an initial assessment, which did not include an in-home inspection, our home was considered to be substantially damaged. This was the beginning of extreme anxiety, sleepless nights, and much frustration. The increasing stress level over the last 2.5 months has caused us to return home to Canada earlier than planned. To date, after more than 2 months of numerous portal submissions, including storm damage photos and favorable inspection by the county's third-party contractor, Tidal Basin, we are considered to be 83% substantially damaged. The calculation is based on like-for-like repair costs to bring the home back to pre-storm condition divided by the asset cash value of the home. As can be seen in the portal, the initial repair costs we submitted with the help and guidance of county staff were approximately $6,000. This was marked as approved by building review on February 24th. Without any consultation, these repairs were then revised to $15,000 and approved again by building review on March 13th. On March 28th, the repair costs were once again revised and marked approved at $25,000. No explanation was provided. The repair costs were then routed to the floodplain administrator, where a local multiplier of 1.15 was added, resulting in the total cost of repairs just over $29,000. This is the cost being used for substantial damage percentage calculation. At this point, I requested a detailed cost repair breakdown from the mobile home storm damage reassessment team, which I only recently received after my wife contacted the county commissioner's office. The cost breakdown I received from the building review department shows a total cost of repairs of approximately $25,000, despite the supporting itemized cost of repairs totaling $20,500, a significant difference. Included in the itemized cost of repairs is $2,800 for a new water heater and a new bathtub and a shower combo, both of which are not required and were not identified as damaged in any third-party inspections. There are other repair costs that I do not believe are justified. With respect to the asset cash value of our home, we have also experienced frustration. I understand that the asset cash value
The next individual to speak is Chris Steiner. Mr. Steiner, I see your hand raised in Zoom. Once you are unmuted, please state your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning. Do you read me?
We can hear you.
Great. Hi, I'm Chris Steiner in Clearwater, here again demanding you put both ending water fluoridation and removing the water fluoridation equipment on the agenda to consider the new science among the best science from last August's 2024 peer-reviewed meta-study of 72 previous studies by the National Toxicology Program, published in JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association Pediatrics, on January 6, 2025, entitled, quote, Fluoride Exposure in Children's IQ Scores, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis, end quote, which is cited in the article on the Fluoride Action Network website, fluoridealert.org, that's fluoridealert.org, dated September 26, 2024, entitled Federal Court Rules that Water Fluoridation Poses an, quote, unreasonable risk, end quote, to children, by Stuart Cooper. I'm an organizer for We Are Change Tampa at wearechangetampa.org, wearechangetampa.org, administrator of the Facebook group Tampa Bay Water Freedom at facebook.com/groups/Tampa Water, where folks can learn more and organize at my personal website, theliberationstation.com. That's theliberationstation.com. You'll find much information on various topics like water fluoridation by clicking on the blogs page and selecting the water fluoridation blog, and also by clicking on the links page and selecting the section Safer Water, Anti-Water Fluoridation, Environmental, Natural, Fluoride-Free, and Mercury-Free Dentistry. The material safety data sheet of the water additive was provided to me by a thoughtful commissioner and lists the most toxic form of fluorides, fluorosilicates, also known as silicofluorides, according to page 88, being they're the most toxic according to page 88 of the book Fluoridation, The Great Dilemma by George L. Waldbot, MD. These fluorides are just part of phosphate mining's radioactive, heavy metal-ridden industrial waste, meaning water fluoridation is just a pretext for disposal of this waste. The bioavailable form of minerals are mineral ions, which come only when dissociated from an element. Compare these silicofluorides, aka fluorosilicates, being just part of phosphate mining's industrial waste currently employed as the water fluoridation additive as a source of the unholy grail search for toxic fluoride ions, to taking a toxic form of chromium like hexavalent chromium, which was exposed by PG&E whistleblower and anti-fluoridation advocate Aaron Brockovich for poisoning Hinckley, California, as a source of chromium ions. As part of my regimen, I supplement with GTF chromium, though would never take or advise taking hexavalent chromium. And while I supplement with selenium in the forms of SEMSC or L-selenomethionine, there's no supplement with the caustic and highly toxic selenium sulfide, which is
Thank you, Mr. Steiner. Cynthia Varney, followed by Greg Pound.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Next.
Yeah,
Next to you.
there you go.
Next one over.
Right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I didn't come prepared to speak, but after being here for a minute, I decided that I think it's important that you understand.
Ma'am, could you please state your name and address for the record?
Can we do what?
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Cynthia Varney. My address is 3301, alternate 19, unit 516, Dunedin, Florida. As you know, on September 26th, we were hit by Hurricane Helene. On October 3rd, which was a shock to all of us, on October 3rd, Pinellas County representatives came through our mobile home community and tagged us as approved to stay within our units. We're a vibrant community. We're not 55 and over. We are really young at heart, and we have a lot of energy. So we all banded together. We cleaned up what mess came in. We repaired our units, and we continued our lives. On March 6th, we received a letter stating that we had substantial damage. This has really hit our residents hard. Everyone has done everything they can to respond to the requests. Lots of paperwork, visits to Pinellas County at 400 Court Street, lots of receipts, photos before, photos after, measurements. The taxes that we paid for 30 years on our investments in Westwind are reduced to an as-is cash value based on the unit's age, being in the 70s. And now we pay for appraisals. I don't know where you think this money is coming from for all of our residents, but it's hurting us. Pinellas County is not serving us well. The contractors that were hired to process our paperwork are wonderful and kind, very focused and very thorough. However, we are in limbo. We received letters of a BVR, and our unit prices are raised, but where do we go from here? We can continue to repair as long as we're in that 49%, half of the whatever. But then what's going to happen? Are we going to be forced to raise our units 10 feet? Now, I can climb 10 feet 20 times a day. I don't have a problem with that. But there are a lot of people who have lived in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. And then lastly, Greg Pound.
Greg Pound, Largo. I would like to say on March 15th was the vernal equinox, where we had the same amount of light as we did darkness. And you look for the first new moon, and then after the first new moon, you count 14 days, and you have the Passover, and that's going to be the 10th. That's going to be this Thursday at sundown. That's the very day that Jesus Christ was crucified. He died on the cross for our sins, and that's here in Pinellas County. Now, it's in different places on the earth, but if you look at, you go to the NASA website, and then you look, study it out, and so that's, we need to understand the power of the blood of Christ and pleading it over your families, your children, and over your county, over your state. There's countries that's gotten free from Islam, and they pleaded over their country because of the bloodshed they've gone through and the peace they seek in Christ. So what we're dealing with now is, you know, I mean, I just come in here and I hear this lady talking about this LGBT and all this other stuff and the children. You know, it's a real sad thing that these people are so aggressive after the children. I was over at the Gay Pride Parade in Tampa this past week, and I don't understand what happened to the white people. I mean, I got eyes, and I'm looking with my eyes. I'm not looking at their clown outfits. I'm looking, and I see a bunch of white people, children, men, women. I said, what did they do to them? What did they do to us? I'll tell you what they did. They raped our families through the court system. The biggest dollar in the U.S. court system is family court, and the goal is to divide and destroy the family. When you do that, you've got the whole country, and that's what's happened here. And if we don't get back to the Bible being the law of our land, we got an illegal sheriff. I've told you this over and over again. I mean, you cannot have Robert Guattari as Jim Coates's attorney. You people need to defund the sheriff's department to get him out of office, whatever you got to do. A psychopath is someone who knows what is right and they're doing what's wrong. How can you know what's right and you're doing what's wrong? Our sheriff went to law school. If he doesn't understand the simple separation clause, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's like ignorance at a blitz, but it's love of power. It's out of control people who want to be in power, and they don't care about nothing. They don't care about the truth, and the Bible is built on truth. It says, the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end. And, you know, truth keeps marching on. It's going to keep marching on. And if we don't get in the line with the truth, we're going to find ourselves trampled on by the lie. The lie is going to destroy us. And if you people, as our leaders, don't stand up for what is right, what is the truth, you might have to dig to find it, study to find it. But, you know, it's right there in our faces. I mean, it's the Word of God.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, that concludes public comment, so we're going to move on to consent items. Is there anybody that would like to pull anything on consent? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Eggers, a second from Commissioner Flowers. I do have one public speaking comment on item number 7 if needed. So, did you want to say anything or just good? Yes.
It's about to pass.
Morning.
Good morning. Nicole Lynn. I'm here for the Ennisbrook plat. I'm here to answer any questions that you all may have or something that comes up, just in case. But
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Commissioner Peters? We can't hear you.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Passes unanimously. Okay. Moving on to item number 9.
Item number 9 is a maintenance agreement with Honeywell for annual facility inspections to perform routine inspections as part of in-house construction processes.
Okay. Have any questions, any discussion?
Move approval. Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Eggers, second by Commissioner Latvala. Any further discussion? Okay, if we can open the voting, please. Commissioner Peters?
Yes.
Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 10.
This is change order number 1 with Southern Road and Bridge. This is for additional work for bridge structures, concrete maintenance, and minor repairs. This is because of the millage amount last year that was provided. We're able to do additional work.
Okay, great. Any questions, discussion? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Eggers, second by Commissioner Flowers. Any further discussion? Okay, if we go up the voting, please.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Peters. Okay, passed unanimously. Item number 11.
The second amendment to an agreement with March Marine Construction. This is for all of our waterway markings and navigational buoys.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? Okay, motion by Commissioner Eggers, second by Commissioner Latvala. Any further discussion? We open up the voting, please. Commissioner Peters?
Yes.
Okay, passed unanimously. Item number 12, County Attorney.
Under item number 12, I recommend that you approve staff's recommendation on the confidential settlement item.
Okay. Will the board?
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Eggers, second by Commissioner Latvala. Any discussion? Well, we can open up the voting.
I'm a yes.
Thank you. Okay, passed unanimously. Any county attorney reports?
Yes, I do have a report.
Okay.
As many of you know, I am a proud graduate of the University of Florida, where I collected 3 degrees. I think my parents thought I would never leave that university. I am very pleased to congratulate them on a national title last night. We've not had much to cheer about there lately. And I would also like to give you some important statistics. They are the only school to have won 3 titles in both football and basketball, and remain the only school to have won both titles in the same season. So, go Gators.
I can tell you're not proud at all.
I'm very happy. I'm very tired, but I'm also very happy. And I would also like to say just as well, I attended the ladies' final on Sunday, and what a just great event over there in Tampa.
Yeah.
Very uplifting to see that many people out for women's sports, and just all around a really, really great event. So I'm tired from a lot of basketball, but very pleased with last night's result.
All right, cool.
Well, I got a comment.
Yeah.
I appreciate your comments about the Tampa event, and I'm not quite as happy on the men's side, obviously, because of Saturday night's debacle. But congratulations, well, it hurts, to Florida for that championship. Gosh, that really hurts. Anyway, congrats.
You know how to inbound the basketball in a press?
Yeah, I do. My guys don't seem to know how.
And I'll also add that it was almost a hometown player that was the MVP for the Final Four from Lake Wales, Walter Clayton Jr.
Cool.
from an attorney rubbing in it about the national championship. So as I sit here, they come from all sides. Congratulations.
All right, on to county administrator reports.
Mine's not near as exciting, so wanted to remind everybody through, last night we had a very good CDBG DR meeting. These are our public meetings where we're getting input on the, on developing the plan that'll come before you here in May. So it was a very good meeting. We have another one scheduled for Thursday in Dunedin and on April 24th in Palm Harbor. We also have a virtual meeting where we'll be taking public input. So if you have any questions regarding that, it's at disaster.pinellas.gov. That's where all the meetings are outlined. But again, off to a really good start, and we really appreciate all the public input and time that people spent to come out and provide and share their thoughts. There's a survey online that you can fill out. We can take your comments that way. But this is at a really important point as we're developing the plan and hearing ideas and thoughts about how to make the programs very tailored to the needs of our community. So I wanted to comment on that. I'm going to have Kevin Gandrew come up and talk about some of the impacts, and especially with our mobile home communities here at the end. But I really wanted, you know, in light of this, we have this, we had these public meetings. We also have meetings with the Tierra Verde regarding a proposed MSTU. That'll be tonight, and it'll be next week. And so, and again, the same thing. Communications has been working really hard to make these meetings meaningful. They spend time setting them up. They've been doing an excellent job with both the website and making information available for people. So just a real shout out to communications for all their hard work. They were there late last night. They're here this morning. They're going to be out tonight. They're going to be out Thursday night. So they've been doing a really good job. Just want to give a shout out to them for all their hard work and thank them. And with that, have Kevin come up and give you a little update on their work. Thanks.
Should I wait for Chair?
I'm sorry? No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. And good morning, Commissioners. Kevin McAndrew, Director of Building and Development Review Services. I want to provide an update specific to mobile home communities. Just a quick snapshot for context purposes. When this process initiated at the outset in December, and even earlier than that, there were 1,400 mobile home units that were identified that would be subject to the substantial damage assessment process. Of those 1,400, approximately 1,100 have received an initial substantial damage determination letter. To date, approximately 30% of these homeowners have pursued a reassessment. Again, the reassessment is the mechanism for a homeowner to go through what's called a detailed substantial damage assessment with the objective of seeing if that initial determination could be reversed to not substantially damaged. I want to wind it back a little bit further for a moment to emphasize several, I think, important points to our approach. Firstly, we were clear that we would provide the same processes to mobile homeowners as we do our single-family residents, and we would be consistent with the same processes associated with the reassessment for both single-family homes and mobile homes. I want to also point out that from my first presentation to this board going back in November and December, that I had pointed out that the mobile home communities were going to be a really significant challenge for us. And that's largely due to the fact that many of the mobile homes are from the 70s, early 80s, some are even from the 60s, and the depreciated value of these structures would be such that it was going to be really difficult for even the smallest amount of repairs not to pierce that 49%. We heard from one of the residents this morning, which also added an element of complexity and additional stress on many of our mobile home owners, in that they live in communities where they lease the land. They don't have the benefit of the property appraiser's just value, a FEMA WLM letter, so they're burdened with the requirement to have to go out and hire a private appraiser to perform an actual cash value appraisal. This sort of just sets the stage of what we were going to be encountering and wanting to effectively manage. So in late January, we tried to be as aggressive as we could to perform outreach to the mobile home communities. We've met with 6 so far. These meetings have been extremely valuable in walking through the processes, providing guidance. We've gotten good feedback from those meetings. We've since, in addition to our customized in-person support, now offer virtual appointments for those homeowners that are not able to come to our offices or have now gone back up north as seasonal residents. So we've continued to be as adaptive as we can in serving this community. We worked with Mike Twitty's office, who's been great, and we put together detailed guidance documents for the appraisal community. We knew right up front the appraisers performing an ACV on a mobile home, it's a vehicle. It's not the same as a home. There were going to be challenges there. So we've tried to address all of these issues that ultimately would facilitate a mobile homeowner in going through this reassessment process. And with all of that said, it is entirely understandable. There's been tremendous frustration from the mobile home owners. There's been a lot of stress. There's been a lot of emotion. And of late, there's been a constant sort of beat with 2 common denominators. One is, we heard from this morning, again, one of the residents speak to the fact that I started with cost of 1X. By the time my application got through subject matter experts, it was 3X. How did that happen? I'm going to address that. The other one is, and this has been the case with the last of the mobile homes that went through the through the SDA process. I had no damage. I had 0 water in my unit. So I want to address those 2 because those are really probably 2 of the most relevant issues that we've been navigating through. So as far as the cost estimate, the intake team works with a homeowner as best they can to document the cost to repair. They walk them through a series of questions, and they help them complete an itemized cost estimate. And then it goes to a team of reviewers, professional cost estimators, reviewers, certified appraisers, and a floodplain manager. And in many, many cases, the initial scope of work that was identified was incomplete. Many homeowners don't realize that I made some repairs inside my unit, but what's the undercarriage? I had ductwork, I had insulation, I had electrical wiring, I had a vapor barrier. Oh, by the way, I had a water heater outside. We're finding time and time again, while we try to catch these up front, that the scope, by the time the review is completed, ends up being larger, with the cost increasing, again, in many cases, putting these total cost to repair over the 49%. The other item of 0 water in the unit is one that we've tried to be as resourceful and adaptive as possible. And in fact, we went back, and let me just clarify that. I think I said this to you at my last update. When we went through all the mobile home communities, we categorized them, those that were the most severely impacted up front. Those were the ones that were done in December and January. They took on feet of water, 3 feet of water, 4 feet of water. We knew those units had to be condemned in many cases. They were so bad. As we worked our way through the prioritization of these, the last of the 3 parks, Westwind, Gateway, Grand Bay, many of them, even Edgewater Pines, many of them have portions of the parks that are not even in a floodplain, and many of them were not damaged. But there were others that were in this marginal area where we went back and identified approximately 205 of these units based on our field inspection, saying that if our data showed, and if re-inspections were needed, that there was 0 water in the unit, we were going to go back and rerun those through the FEMA estimator tool. And I can provide an update this morning that out of those 205, approximately 190 of those are being reversed. So there will be a lot of letters going out that are going to be quite favorable to homeowners in those 3 communities, because we found that when we were able to rerun those models with 0 water in the unit, we could get the favorable results. So again, this is an example of us trying to be as adaptive as possible to work with our residents. I do want to transition, though, that while I pointed out that we'll have a number of those going through the reassessment reverse, we'll have that big batch that I just referenced, there's going to be hundreds of mobile homes that will get a final substantial damage letter. They'll have a couple of options. One, they have the appeal option. No one has yet exercised this, but this is a process that we put in place in coordination with the county attorney's office and the clerk of the courts, where special magistrates can hear an appeal from a homeowner to the final determination by the floodplain administrator. So that is an option. That's the final option that is available. The other piece that I really want to emphasize is that we have no intention of displacing residents. At the outset of this process for both single-family homes and mobile homes, and part of the confusion that was that we picked up early on was residents today said, I got a placard on my unit that said it was safe to occupy. It was safe to occupy for habitability. We ended up pulling those placards because it was causing more confusion than not. But what that placard was saying was that it was okay for you to still live in there. You can live in a home that has a substantial damage determination under a temporary residency. And so for those that do get a final determination, we're not going to, as long as their home's been deemed safe, we have a safe home inspection, we can go in, they can do minor repairs, we're not going to displace these residents. It's only the units that are uninhabitable and need to be condemned will homeowners will look to provide other assistance for those. But otherwise, we have a date of June 1st approaching quickly. We recognize that. We're going to do everything we can to get through all these reassessments in May, but we're looking at extensions to these homeowners that have a substantial damage determination to allow them to stay in their units. They can't make full repairs, but they can stay in these units till they have a path forward. The qualification that we put on that extension is that these homeowners need to show some degree of good faith effort to moving forward with the path forward. They can't just ignore it. So whether or not they're looking into elevation, whether they're looking into relocation, whether they're looking into some other means of a plan forward, that's enough to allow us to provide an extension. We, of course, wanted to try to have this coincide with June 1st, the start of the hurricane season, to not have them subjected potentially to another event, but the scale of what we're dealing with here and the number of homeowners, again, we want to minimize displacement. So we're going to be working with all of our homeowners, whether single-family or mobile homes, when appropriate, we'll provide extensions for them to stay in their homes.
Thank you, Kevin. Obviously, this is probably one of the most difficult areas of our housing. I mean, there's so many folks that are going through difficulties, but we have folks that are just, this is the kind of housing that they can afford or want to afford. So being displaced in any regard, or as you're saying, we're trying to work with them, is monumental. I don't know where the thinking about mobile home parks as a directive to us through all the rules and regs comes, but it just seems odd that mobile home folks are really stuck between a rock and a hard place, because had they bought a new one before the storm, the values would have been higher. The residual value of the unit would have been higher, and therefore the ability to stay put without doing any changes would have been fine. They can't do it after the work. In other words, if they have one that's substantially damaged, they go get a new one afterwards. They can't do it then either, because the elevation piece of that is going to have to take place. So whether you did one beforehand where you would have gotten a lot more latitude and nothing would have had to change, or afterwards, you can't do it afterwards either, because then the change that was required would make it a moot point. So I feel like they're stuck, and it's such a unique situation. I'm glad that we're working with them on the one front. So that's just a comment. Raising these units, this is the other thing that's really remarkable to me. And I understand the concept behind it. I also understand the concept of waivers that owners can go through. But folks that are going to be living in those homes before or afterwards are going to be subject to the same, efforts to relocate when storms are coming. It doesn't matter. You raise them up, you're going to be more susceptible to wind than you are down on the ground. That's going to be the downside. Maybe you're going to be better from a flood standpoint. I don't know, perhaps. I just feel like there's been no, and I don't mean us, we're kind of subject to a lot of rules that are being thrown at us. But I just feel like this housing, this piece of our market, the folks that, there's so many of them that rely on this kind of housing, there's just no solution for them. I'm just extremely, I share the frustration that I hear from them. The part about being able to work through things after June 1, I think is going to be helpful. But Kevin, I'm not sure how we deal with this, because this is a really, really tough situation. And then before I forget, I wanted to go, there was one of the speakers that talked about waiver of fees for rebuilding a home, and they're not subject to the same waiver. And I didn't understand, I think I understood what he was saying. I just want to make sure that the intent of our waiving fees for these storm issues would apply to just about anything that's related to that. And if not, maybe we need to address that separately, because certainly the spirit of it, so that's all I'm saying, the spirit of helping folks out during these times is for all of it. So, but anyway, that's just another comment on another issue. But I'm not sure what we can do, Kevin, what we can do to push back on things that are being shoved down our throats. And I understand the intent of it, but I don't think we really understand, we're not really taking into account the uniqueness of this industry. So anyway, sorry for having to vent a little bit, but I think it's really critical. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I got a couple of questions. So if we do the extension, and I'm assuming that we would do that for people to stay in their mobile homes, how long would that be for? I mean, is that a set duration? Do we have flexibility in that?
Well, again, the overarching obligation is that there is there is some degree of evidence of a path forward. They're not just taking advantage, but I think we'll give every consideration to, again, this has to be subject to further analysis, but I think we'll give consideration to potentially next hurricane season, June 1st of 2026.
On the units that have been condemned, has all of that already occurred, or are there still people that are in units that have yet to be, get that letter or get that communication?
No, there may be an anomaly there somewhere, but no, where we had that degree of damage, those units were placarded and are being dealt with now through demolition.
What happened to those people? Do we know?
Well, I think we have a couple of different scenarios where ownership in one park is looking at potentially a change of use to the property.
Are you referring to Twin Cities?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, commissioners, if I can, like on Twin Cities Mobile Home Park, repetitive flood property, same thing with Mariners Cove, and one ownership, same ownership actually for both parks. But in that particular case, staff went out of their way to try to meet with residents without the assistance of the park owner. But they also worked to find alternative locations for people. And they worked with the Housing Authority and others to be able to find a glide path, for people to be able to relocate. So they went way out of their way to try and rectify the situation and make that bridge. So you don't necessarily have that in every park, and this was a really, bad situation. But so they're going out of their way and making it specific to each unit. It depends on kind of the situation. In that particular case, we had an ownership group that wouldn't work with us, and we really needed to rectify unsanitary conditions out in that park.
In thinking last night at the meeting in Lellman, which was extremely well attended, and Barry, I have to agree with you, I think communications did an outstanding job on that. Some of those programs, I don't remember what all of them were that are being proposed, but I think some of those programs could be very, very helpful for this population. But
I agree.
Would any of those programs be enough to make somebody whole in that situation? If they got to replace their,
I don't know the answer to that. I could get mad up. We've talked specifically about this this part of our community and how we can help that. I don't know if it makes them whole or creates a bridge, to cover some of the cost or something like that. I think that's going to be part of the program development that we do when we bring that plan to you here in less than a month. But that is absolutely on our radar, and I think that it's something we need to try to address.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Kevin. All right, let's see, where are we? Item number 15. Okay, so. Item number 15, we have appointments to the Pinellas Opportunity Council. One appointment to Pinellas Opportunity Council for a 5-year term, starting the date of appointment. Kyle Jeffrey Martin, sole applicant, currently holds the position. Okay, motion by Commissioner Egger, second by Commissioner Flowers. Any further discussion?
I just have one quick question. Do they have to live in Pinellas County?
I don't know.
I've never looked at this. Joe, do you know?
Because the application said Tampa, so I just figured I didn't know if it was.
I don't know.
Okay.
I have staff verify the eligibility, so I have to assume the answer is no.
Unfortunately, I'd have to make that same assumption, but I don't know the answer to that.
No problem. Just curious.
I mean, it's a good question.
Okay, so how about this? We'll follow up. Obviously, if they're not eligible because of the eligibility requirements, well, then that in and of itself would take care of it. But we'll ask staff to follow up with the attorney's office and review it.
Okay, all right. Okay. He currently holds a position, so. Yeah, so, okay, well, I guess we'll vote on this, and then just report back to us if we find out there's an eligibility problem, then we'll deal with it. Okay, if we could open up the voting. Commissioner Peters?
Yes.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. Item number 16, appointment to Suncoast Health. Approve 3 appointments to the Suncoast Health Council for a term of 2 years, beginning on the date of appointment. And we have ballots here, but my understanding is we have 3 positions, they're reappointments, and they're the only 3 that applied. So we can just, I think, do a voice vote. But okay. Second. All right, motion by Commissioner Flowers, second by Commissioner Latvala. Any further discussion? Hearing none, if we could open up the voting.
Yes.
Thank you. Passed unanimously. Item number 17, reappointment to the Historic Preservation Board by Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you all recall, Mr. Fredovich was serving in an interim role on the Gulfport City Council, so he had to come off as my appointment, but now they've had the election, someone has that seat, and so now I'm reappointing him as my selection to the board.
Okay. Second. Okay, motion by Commissioner Flowers, second by Commissioner Eggers. Any further discussion? All right, if we can open up the voting.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. And now we're moving on to new business. So, Commissioner Scheer, you want to lead us off?
Thank you, Chair. First, I would like to request the approval of an appointment of Rob Roberts to the Pinellas County Historical Commission Board. That would be my pick. Thank you.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Scheer, second by Commissioner Latvala. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Passed unanimously.
Thank you. I've had a busy 2 weeks. Had good meetings with Paul Cousy and Jill Silver Board to learn more about the Penny Fund and our environmental lands acquisition plan on March 26th. On the 27th, I met with Tom Amonte and Audrey Eibels, and we discussed the Tierra Verde MSTU plan, which I think would be great for Tierra Verde, and I hope it goes through. I plan on attending one of those meetings myself to encourage the residents in that area. I met with Dr. Cho also on the 27th to learn more about the Florida Department of Health in Pinellas County and the programs they have for our residents and their funding. That was good. I also had about an hour-and-a-half meeting with Ken Burke and his finance team to take a deep dive in our fiscal year ending 24 report, so I can compare that to our 2025 budget, and hopefully that'll come in handy for our budget season, which is coming up. I also chaired my first board meeting at the Pinellas Public Safety Coordinating Council. I enjoyed chairing my first meeting, and I learned a lot about what they do to oversee the operations at the prisons and the level of population and what we're doing to help people not come back to prison when they leave. So that was great. And then on April 4th, I had a great experience that I wanted to share with you. Many of you may know that I truly believe that the answer to our wastewater treatment plant spills that keep happening over and over and over again in Pinellas County, I believe that the cure is emergency containment ponds. We should be building emergency containment ponds around our wastewater treatment plants in Pinellas County. I've been beating that drum for about a decade now, and because I never was able to prove that it had been done anywhere else, I'd never been able to prove that the DEP would approve such a plan. But that all changed on April 4th when I toured with Doug 3 wastewater treatment plants in Manatee County. These are first-class wastewater treatment plants, and they do not spill water into our waterways because they have emergency containment ponds. I provided each of you aerials of the plants that I toured. It took almost a day. And they all have every one of those plants has an emergency containment pond capable of holding millions and millions and millions of gallons of reject, partially treated wastewater. And the system that they have in place is simple. When you have a large rain event, a tropical storm or a hurricane, and our laterals start filling up our wastewater treatment pipes, these ponds can be used to hold partially treated waters. Even if the power shuts off to the plant, the water is diverted to these ponds. The ponds catch the partially treated water with no solids in it. And after the event has passed, the waters are pumped back into the treatment system for final treatment, and then they are harmlessly released as reclaimed water or back into the river system wherever they're located. We don't have those systems here in Pinellas County. I'm so delighted that I finally have evidence that they exist and they work. Not only do they provide emergency capability to hold the waters and prevent the spills, but they also eliminate the need to shut off water to our houses during storms and our hospitals. So I just wanted you to know what I'm working on this problem. It's near and dear to me. It's something that was one of the reasons I wanted to be a county commissioner, is to solve this problem. So in the near future, I'm going to be meeting with the engineers that designed the system. And then I'm going to revisit, hopefully, with Mayor Welch to talk to him about getting these ponds built in St. Petersburg at Ecker College. And then I would like to meet with our public directors, utility directors, about building them around our plants, because they're not expensive, they're effective, and they'll work. And so I just wanted to update you on what I'm doing and why, and hopefully if I ever need the support of the commission, I would have it. So thank you for that, and that would be it for me.
All right. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Laval.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anyone that knows me knows that I do not like kicking a friend while they're down.
Bet you will.
Because that's not my style. But all this basketball talk got me remembering that Saturday night as I was watching the Duke game, with 3 minutes left, were you aware, Mr. Chairman, that Duke had a win probability of 95.5% with 3 minutes left?
I was unaware.
Which, I mean, how they blew that game is just makes somebody wonder how smart people could be that stupid.
It's like missing a 3-foot putt, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And imagine our
Not
friend.
that I've ever done that.
Our friend Commissioner Eggers had a rough night, but I feel for him. Anyways, back to the business at hand. YAC had their final tour of the 24-25 school year, and it was their choice, so I'm sure y'all would be shocked to hear that they wanted to tour the medical examiner's office, which was very interesting. Their end-of-year celebration will be on May 10th at Whedon Island Preserve. Back in the fall, when we chose the places that they would go, I believe the jail was number 1, and the medical examiner...
As a guest.
Yeah, as a guest. The jail was number 1, the medical examiner's office was number 2.
As a guest.
Yeah, hopefully that's not indicative of future plans. But they're great students, and hopefully a lot of them will participate again next year, because there's a lot of underclassmen. Also, we had the Health and Human Services Leadership Board meeting. Yesterday, we had a Career Source Consortium meeting, and I also don't like besmirching our colleagues across the bay. That's not my style. But you can tell by the difference of leadership that we have with our new chair of the consortium. Our meeting yesterday was 7 minutes. Chair Flowers did a wonderful job chairing that meeting. So keep up the short meetings. And I wanted to remind y'all, this Thursday is the Sheriff's Award ceremony. If y'all have not attended, especially the two new folks, if you have not attended, that is a really good event. So make sure that it is on your calendar. I believe it's 4 o'clock, but double check that. Yes, it is. I know Commissioner Eggers usually attends. And I believe Commissioner Scott and Flowers, y'all have attended previous. But seeing the heroes get their rightful awards, and they also show a lot of videos, like body cam footage and things like that, that is not normally shown to the public, which gives a real good understanding of the things that they encounter on a day-to-day thing. Part of their day-to-day job. And I remember last year, one of the videos that they showed was of people that they rescued, trying to jump off bridges and things like that, part of their crisis response team. And then also this Saturday, speaking of heroes, is the Clearwater Police Department's annual softball game at 3 o'clock. At the Clearwater Threshers/Phillies Stadium.
You playing shortstop?
I am not. They did not ask me to play for some reason. I guess it is. I'm athletically challenged. Yeah. Maybe I can be the water boy or something, or coach first base. That is my report.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Peters, do you have a report?
Hi, not too much. I've been kind of busy with hospitals and stuff, but we have been working with our congressional partners on beach nourishment, and I wish I could say we were successful, but I haven't been able to say that yet. I can say that there was something different in that Jacksonville is asking for our project information report, which is our estimated cost damages. Now, they declined to get that report in the past because they said we were ineligible for FCCE dollars because we haven't been able to acquire the easements. So them asking for this is new. It's not a guarantee. They're not working on the work plan because there's no decision makers at Army Corps yet. Nobody's been appointed by the president. So I'm going to look at this optimistically, saying maybe they're looking to put us in the work plan, even though we're not compliant, in hopes that we have a resolution coming in the future. So I'm going to look at that optimistically, but cautiously. And that's really all I have, I think, at this time for a report.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Nowicki.
Thank you, Chair. First off, the HLA appointed a new interim CEO, so that's like their 8th new CEO in the last 4 years. So I'll keep you updated how that plays out. But the COC Executive Board feels very confident with the new CEO and the direction that she's already going. So I think it's a positive step. Met yesterday with the Department of Health a little bit for the licensing board side for daycare and home care for children. There hasn't really been a rate increase in 15 years for those applications, and so we're looking at aligning those rates similar to other counties in the Tampa Bay area. Was up in Tallahassee with our county administrator and our chair and Matt Spohr over there. So we did a great job talking with all of our delegation. I think, feel very confident we're going to bring home the bacon and get some good funding from Tallahassee this year. You have the MSTU meeting in Terra Verde, one of them tonight, which I'll be at. I'm a little bit more hesitant to, just kind of go forward with that. I'd maybe like to see the residents of Terra Verde vote if they want to, tax themselves, maybe put it up to them for a vote, or have whatever MSTU is assigned, have that be maybe possibly negotiated with the HOA, that would be less, they would have to pay that amount. So it'd kind of be an even wash, but looking forward to the meetings that are coming forward. The ELC has a strategic planning session coming up. And then I'd like to, really kind of what Vice Chair Eggers was talking about for a snippet there of what one of the speakers, Stephen Walker, brought up for not waiving fees for rebuilding. From what I kind of looked up online, I don't think we are waiving fees for folks rebuilding, just renovations. So, I mean, if it's, the will of the board, I mean, I don't see why we couldn't, enact a policy or vote today to waive fees for people rebuilding. But I wouldn't want to see people rebuild their house and then immediately sell it for a profit. So I think if there was a way to do it in a sense, kind of like a first-time home buyer program, where if they don't, sell their house in 7 years or 10 years, maybe it falls off. But I think we should be doing something today to really help folks that are paying, for rebuilding. I would imagine they're paying a lot more in permitting fees than someone that's getting a permit for renovations. So I don't know if we're able to take action on that today, Administrator?
I would recommend not, but again, that's up to you.
Just my thought is I think we should have an understanding of what that fiscal impact is to the county before we do something
I put
like
this
that.
down as to one-on-ones, so I'll
Okay.
be meeting with you guys on one-on-ones over the next couple of days. This is one of the items I'd like to brief you on.
Okay, yeah, I think that's crucial. So anyway, where we could do it, and then as long as they don't sell the house within a few years, maybe waive the fees, so they don't go and sell the house, in a few months, a brand-new house, but, if they're there for 7 or 10 years, maybe look at a way of kind of doing a program like that. I think that would be a good balance. I definitely support Commissioner Scheer's efforts for the emergency containment ponds, and I don't know, in our next, I know we talked at the end of our workshop about new strategic plan initiatives. When that comes up, would we be able, or would Commissioner Scheer be able to bring this up for our strategic planning session, or our last one, or when we talked about?
Well, okay, again, I'd like to talk to Commissioner Scheer regarding that. We didn't have spills at our plants, but I'd like to understand more. And we will be bringing back your strategic plan for further discussion.
And I will have more that I can share. Some of the things that I took pictures of and things that I saw at the plant, I'm prohibited to show in public because of Homeland Security.
Sure.
And stuff
No,
like that.
I look forward to the discussion.
Okay.
Okay. And then, I also don't want to, and then and Aide did have a birthday yesterday, Tyler, so I would like to wish him a happy birthday. So.
Trying to one-up me over here? I wished him a happy birthday, even though I didn't do it public.
So happy birthday.
And it was not yesterday, it was the day before.
Well, happy birthday, Tyler. But that's all the new business I have. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is good to be back. I've been traveling back and forth to Tallahassee, so I think I have my own little room up there now, a permanent place. But it is quite busy and moving very fast. And I know that you all have been updated as it relates to what's going on for the platform that we're trying to push and support. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens. But in meeting with Senator Hooper, who is chair of the Appropriations Committee, he said he felt the session would end on time. So I guess that means that they can't do too much more harm to us. I serve at the pleasure of this board on the Area Agency Aging Pasco Pinellas board, and we are looking at some extreme challenges. The Administration for Community Living, which falls under the Department of Health and Human Services from the federal government, had 107 employees laid off of the 200 employees that it employs. The funding, the majority of the funding that AAAPP receives comes from this department. So if there are budget cuts, 50% of the funding that we receive, because it covers services for elderly, comes out of that fund. So we would be looking at a $12 million loss in revenue if what is being proposed happens. In addition, the LIHEAP program, which is the Low Income Energy Efficiency Program, so not only works to provide heat for seniors, but also the fans and things like that during the summer months when it's extremely hot, and we are expected to have an even hotter summer this year. It affects funding for that. LIHEAP also is a large component piece of POC, Pinellas Opportunity Council, of which we just appointed someone. So I think I forwarded that to you guys just as an FYI. I'm not saying they will, but I do believe that a number of organizations, should they lose massive amounts of funding like this on the federal level, they may start looking at the counties and cities to try to make up for some of it. So I'm sharing that information as a appointed board member to that, but just also saying, you know, doesn't mean we have it, doesn't mean we will do it, but they're certainly going to be looking to try to replace those dollars if those fundings are cut. And $12 million is nothing to sneeze at when you're looking at about a $40 million organization. It also would mean some layoffs, which, you know, Anne Marie Winter, who is the executive director for AAAPP, has noted. And when you have a layoff of staffs, you have a depletion of services. So it's just that snowball effect. Gus Bilirakis has been extremely supportive of AAAPP and kind of serving as that surrogate for a go-between. So stay tuned. We will look to see what happens. I attended my school transportation subcommittee meeting. Laura Hine, who's a school board member, was elected chair of that committee. And it just addresses transportation services, how to improve transportation services to our youth. A presentation was made regarding the utilization of public transportation in addition to school buses. And there was also a lot of conversation about safety, because some of our students who are going to high school, it's dark out when they're going to catch the bus. And of course, we had that very tragic incident where the high schooler walked his sister across the street to catch her bus, got her on her bus. He was hit on the way returning. So there were just a lot of questions about lighting, crosswalks, anything that can be done to make sure that there are appropriate devices to notify and remind the public that people cross at this section and to please be careful when driving down. So it was a good meeting. It was a long meeting, but it was a good meeting. I also had the pleasure of attending a couple of community functions that all focus on just uplifting, this is the good part, uplifting people in the community and recognizing them for the work that they do in the community. One was held by All Administrative Solutions, which is Esther Matthews and her daughter, and it was really just uplifting women as it relates to their businesses and what they're doing in their businesses, and acknowledging those small business owners who've now been able to capitalize their businesses and grow them. So kudos to all of them, all of the persons who were awarded for that. I was not able to attend. I had a scheduled conflict to attend the First Ladies event that's put on every year by the Dr. Carter G. Woodson African American Museum. It was held at the James Museum because it's a rather large event. So super kudos to the young ladies who were acknowledged and honored on that day. Yes, I had my first meeting yesterday as chair of Career Source Hillsborough and Pinellas. And it was a quick meeting. I think our next meeting may be just a little bit longer because it's going to involve updating our bylaws or voting to update the bylaw changes that are being requested, as well as the strategic plan. What you did?
I was pointing to him.
Oh.
He was pushing for that 7-minute.
Oh.
I said, you might have to go.
It was 7 minutes. It was 7 minutes.
It'll be 9 minutes.
It
9
may
minutes
be,
next time.
it may be 15 minutes this time.
have to have a permanent Pinellas chair.
Hey, even Washington said that. Yeah, I don't know if you heard him.
I can get his vote.
I don't know if you heard it. He said, I bumped the rules. But anyway, that one may be just a little bit longer because we do have a new president and CEO. She's off to a wonderful start. And so I'll be meeting with her prior to our meetings to make sure we're going over any items that may be a little contentious or conversational, and to make sure that she's contacting the members of the board, being able to answer any questions in advance of the meeting. And I think if we do that, we'll have greater efficiency at those meetings. But thank you, Commissioner Latvala, for your confidence. I appreciate that. The Florida Association of Counties, of course, had its legislative day at the Capitol, on the Capitol for 2 days. I was very impressed by our first day of community meetings because we had the department heads of every single department. Sometimes they will send their staff, but we actually had the department heads of every single department to come to us and present what it is that they were doing, how could FAC assist them in their department, and then what we, as the Florida Association of Counties, were going to be asking of them. So I am grateful and thankful that they thought it not robbery to have each one of those department heads to actually come and sit and chat with us. I also serve on, at the pleasure of this board, I also serve on the board where we address and look at affordable housing issues, persons who may have some concerns with commerce and the business acumen in the community. Congratulations to our outgoing chair, Mr. Twitty. He served as the chair for the past year. I was elected as the chair for the current year. So I look forward to having those continued meetings and making sure that our policies align with what it is that the federal government has requested. Thank you so very much, Mr. Chair, for providing us with copies of the DOGE report through the clerk's office. I appreciate the work that our clerk, Ken Burke, and staff did on that. I read the entire report when it was sent, so thank you so very much, and I don't have any questions. I thought that report was very thorough and answers all of the 5 questions that were being requested of the various counties. I hope that some of you will come in June. I know it's a little far off, so I'm throwing it out on your calendar. You'll come in June to the Florida Association of Counties annual conference. That'll be held in Orlando. I will be sworn in as the president-elect, and Michelle Lincoln will be sworn in as the president. So I hope you all will come, because it really is a good conference and it's good information. So I really hope that you all will be able to attend and make that conference. And yes, I really enjoyed the very first meeting at Lelman last night. Our chair did a wonderful job giving an introduction of why we were there. And then I thought that Horn and our staff did a wonderful job in, as one of the residents said, a short, brief, informative presentation. And then to ask the questions from the audience, and then staff stayed throughout to answer any additional questions. And there was a lot of hope in the room, but also congratulations to our staff, because a lot of people gave positive comments about the way the county was handling the storm concerns and the information that was being put out. So I look forward to the next 2 meetings. That'll be Mid-County and North County, and then I believe the last one is going to be virtual. So I look forward to that. And the last thing is, last night, after I left that meeting, I attended what's called the Great Debate. It's an opportunity for middle schoolers and high schoolers to show off their debating prowess. And the judges have a chance to judge on which team wins the debate. So congratulations to Brandy Miller, who is also an assistant principal at Melrose. Her team won for the middle schoolers. And then congratulations to, oh gosh, her name just went out of my head. She won for the high schoolers. But they are middle schoolers and high schools from all over the county. So they get a certificate and they get a little financial remuneration. So congratulations to them, showing off their skills. It goes to show that Pinellas County Schools is doing a wonderful job with our students. And I know that was a lot, but that's it and that's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Flowers. Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, it's always great to hear those programs at the schools and giving chances for our kids to shine and do good stuff. So thank you for that. And to my colleague for kicking me when I'm down. I certainly am hopeful and prayerful that this poor Duke program will pick itself off the ground and be competitive again next year. Yeah, they were there in the Final Four. I'm sure that those programs that are between Orlando and here would strive for such mediocrity.
UCF almost beat Duke a couple years ago.
Almost a couple years ago.
Layup at the end.
Anyway, moving on to other stuff. I'm not sure where we're on the MSTU for Tierra Verde. We certainly have had both models work. The one in Palm Harbor, they clearly up there voted themselves that tax increase. In East Lake on the library services, again, that was the case. The recreational, it was not. The commission voted for that service over there. So both of them have their place. I kind of tend to agree this is seemingly a pretty new concept and certainly like to have the community involved. So to your point, we'll have more discussion on that to come. So I would just say just a couple of things, if I can get my notes back here. Come on, there we go. We had the FIXA meeting. I went to the FIXA meeting last Wednesday. It was very good, very positive, upbeat, and working away at some of the things that we talked about here as a commission. And I think it continues to be important for residents to understand that access to literature and that kind of thing is still available. That's not the issue that we're talking about. And making sure that folks understand what the true action that was taken and why it was taken and what can still happen for parents that feel differently about it. So anyway, it was a very positive meeting, and I think everybody's upbeat about where we're heading and everybody getting back to doing the business at hand for FIXA services. I had a chance to visit Bosch Osgood Corporation up in Oldsmar. Was there with Scott Talcott from our economic development and Mayor Gannon, the new mayor of Oldsmar. And it was just a really wonderful opportunity to see another one of our companies doing great work, and really continue to be impressed with Scott Talcott and the Economic Development Group. This is a company that really we hadn't been able to make contact for a few years, and Scott made an effort to kind of do that, get back in there, and they were just ecstatic about how the county had reached out to assist and help in different areas and concerns that they were having. Just really good to see government and business working hand in hand. And on a much lighter note, the Oldsmar Parade, the Olds Parade, they call it, happened this past Saturday. And again, Mayor Gannon led the trip around Oldsmar. Lot of folks out there, and it was hot. But again, good times. They don't do a Christmas parade, so this is their opportunity to do a parade. And they had just a ton of Jeeps and just a ton of different cars, a lot of Oldsmobiles out there. Just a good time having all of that. Just one point of interest, we had a Palm Harbor Coffee Chamber meeting last Thursday, and I talk about a number of different things and try to stay around and talk a little bit about things that might be on people's minds. And I'm getting more and more questions about some yes and some no on this whole mayor's county administrator thing. So I think I look forward to those conversations that we're going to have, and hopefully we all come with open minds to hear and listen to the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of it. But anyway, of all the things that were brought up, that was I've heard that from 3 different people now. So Tampa Bay Water, I had a meeting with staff yesterday. Looks like the new budget that will be brought forward in April meeting for discussion, and the May meeting for voting will have minimal impact on us as a user of the water, obviously from Tampa Bay Water. So I was glad to hear that. A robust capital program will be in place, and things are going well there as far as our water availability. We're now starting to use some of the reservoir water, but it's well within what we normally would do. In fact, we're way ahead of ourselves there. We have plenty there, and we also have our desal plant that's up and running at about 10 million gallons a day, which we did not have last year. So all is good at Tampa Bay Water. At the MPO this tomorrow, we'll be talking about the hiring of that attorney consulting company that will help guide us in the next year's discussion about the merging of the MPOs in the Tampa Bay region. Still a lot of, as they say, the devil's in the details, so there's still a lot to take in and understand and make sure that we understand what we're doing, but also the ramifications of some of the decisions that we're making. We're trying to stay in line with our own thinking, but also with what the state is hoping for us to do as well. So again, it was, I think we're heading in the right direction. We're going to have that, again, good discussion with all of our partners around the region. So we'll see how that goes on. I was going to mention the Sheriff's Award ceremony this week. It is really good. Doesn't take long, and I think it really means a lot to the officers that are there to have folks like us there and other residents that show up as well. So anyway, a good time. Mr. Chair, I think that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Dave. All right. I appreciate all of that great discussion. So late last week, I had sent out after we distributed the initial response to DOJ to everybody for their review. I had put together a DOJ resolution that I distributed to all of you. I think it was on Sunday. And for consideration of a resolution that would memorialize the we anticipate that there's probably going to be a lot more document requests coming forward. So a resolution that would memorialize not only our cooperation, but also the spirit and intent of finding efficiencies, looking for redundant systems, and implementation of best practices as we go forward. So I put that out for your consideration. I just thought it would be good for us to, kind of check that box and memorialize to the Executive Office of the Governor's DOJ team that we are here, willing and able to work with them, cooperate in any way we can, and that we're very interested in finding out what they learn from talking with other municipalities and other counties, of things that we can apply here, and if they're able, in cooperation with us, to identify any misaligned grants, any savings opportunities that we can pass on to taxpayers. I think that's only a good thing. I think it's only a positive. So just wanted to put that out there for everybody's consideration. Okay. A motion from Commissioner Latvala, second from Commissioner Wicki, and a question from Commissioner Flowers.
Not a question. I'm going to be a no vote on this only because I don't think that we need a resolution to say that we would look for efficiencies or inefficiencies, because I believe that we're doing that. I know that every year budgetarily, departments are asked to hold the line, or they're asked to make cuts within their departments. I know that since I've been a commissioner, there have been a number of times where commissioners have challenged staff's recommendations for grant awardees. We've reined in when there have been issues or concerns with a particular entity, with the way that they may be spending dollars, or the fact that they're not spending them quickly enough. one specific instance that comes to my mind is directions for mental health, and Lord has kind of brought that to our attention. So I don't have a problem with what is being asked. I don't have a problem with the 5 questions that were asked of us, because they are questions that we could answer, and answer, I think, in a very concerted way that shows that we are, as a body, being good stewards of taxpayer dollars, good stewards of state funding, good stewards of any federal funding or anything that we get. So I just don't think that a resolution is necessary. So nothing personal. I just don't think that a resolution is necessary because we're doing it. They asked us to respond. We responded quickly, I think. Of course, you know, I've been a part of conversations through the Florida Association of Counties leadership, where different counties have asked questions about why should we respond, how should we respond, and even FAC is saying, hey, respond because you're doing these things, and you know, you should let them know what you're doing. And of course, everything that we do is open to public records, so they could come in and review or request a review at any point in time. So that's the only reason why, because it's not that I am opposed to what's being asked, you know, because when you're doing your job, right, you don't have any issues or concern with them coming in, flipping your papers. But I just don't think a resolution is required, Mr. Chair, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Certainly respect that. Commissioner Eggers?
Well, again, I think that as long as our discussions here continue to be one of when we make changes, or that we always understand the ramifications of what we do here. Since Barry's come, we have lowered the millage rates a few times. I feel like we do a good job. Sometimes that's not enough for me, that the millage rate's been rolled back, but what we're doing is we're working hard. And a reminder to the federal government that they have no clue what this means, but here locally and at the state level, we have to balance our budgets. So, which means that costs and revenue and reserves all have to kind of balance out. And we are here talking to our residents every day, understanding what's important and when we make those choices. So I look to always improve what we do. I think we do a pretty good job. And, you know, I think having this kind of resolution gets us away from when the party in place, the pendulum changes from time to time. So that I remember in my early years when it was a little different mix here, I didn't get quite as much that I wanted done on the budget, and in recent years more so. So it kind of it cuts through all of that, so that when there's different efforts that have different priorities, we always have. And I don't have any problem with people looking over our shoulder on cost. And as you said, I'm very proud of the work we do here. Again, I don't always get my way, but I'll battle it till the end to try to get my way. But I do think that we do a pretty good job, but I certainly welcome any additional scrutinies or constructive criticisms, as long as they're not home ruling us or taking more home rule away from our decisions here. I don't have any problem with constructive thoughts on anything to cut costs to our residents. So I will support it.
Chair Scott, thank you for bringing forward this resolution in support of this DOGE initiative. This is important work. Ensuring taxpayer dollars are spent wisely, eliminating waste, and improving how government serves the people. By partnering with the governor's team, Pinellas County, with this resolution is taking a responsible, common sense approach to accountability and efficiency. I'm happy to fully support this and your leadership for advancing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just commend you, Mr. Chair, for bringing this forward. I think this was a wonderful thing for us to do. There are several other counties that are doing this. And I think, I have full faith and confidence in our administrator and in Chris Rose and their team. I think that over the past couple of years, we've cut our budget, but, when possible. But it's always good to have other folks, giving advice, giving criticism when it's needed. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's places in the state budget that could be cut. And certainly, the feds spend like drunken sailors. But certainly DOGE has, helped identify that both at the federal, state, and now at the local level. And so there's nothing wrong with us, saying, hey, please help us when you can identify, areas that we can do better. And, if there are other cities and counties that are doing something that we could, maybe do better and learn from, that's certainly helpful. I believe that there's a local billionaire that, may owe us a few $1 million. And if somebody can help us get that money back, I would be very appreciative of that. The governor's office carries more sway than we do, so, that resolution talks about wasteful spending, talks about protecting taxpayers. Maybe that's one area that we can get help from. So, I applaud the work you're doing. I applaud the work that certainly the DOGE folks in Washington and now in Tallahassee are doing.
All right, we have a
Mr. Chair, can I weigh in on
Yes.
that too?
Commissioner Peters, yes, please. Sorry,
So,
didn't mean to miss you there.
to me, this is nothing more than continuous quality improvement, which is practices we should have embedded in every element of everything we do. And we've actually embedded with the resiliency. And again, at the surface at the time, I wasn't a big fan of it, but when we started implementing that into every department, we found incredible efficiencies. And so anytime that we can find ways to embed efficiencies, is just good business practice. So to me, it's nothing more than making a statement that we're committed to continuous quality improvement and efficiencies, which I think we do a really, really good job at, better than most. And so I have no problem with memorializing this and being proud to wave the flag that we're fiscally responsible and that we're always looking for efficiencies. And so, yeah, it may seem political on the surface. To me, it's not really about politics. To me, this is strictly adhering to good quality improvement practices. And so, whether we memorialize it or whether we, make some kind of commitment to these kind of efficiencies, which we have in the past over and over again, I'm not looking at this as political. I'm looking at this as just a way to fly our flag that we're committed to good quality improvement and fiscal practices.
Thank you very much.
Move approval of the Pinellas County Board of Commissioners EOG DOGE resolution as presented by our chairman.
Thank you, sir. I think we already had a motion in a second, but I appreciate the third it. Okay, any further discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, passes 6-1. Thank you all for your support. I appreciate it very much. And Commissioner Flowers, I certainly respect your comments. Thank you. Okay, get on to my activity report. First and foremost, I'd like to send our colleague and dear friend Patty Reed our deepest sympathies for the recent loss of her husband in a very tragic accident. We had a PSDA nominating committee meeting earlier, I guess it was last week, to fill positions that were vacated when Chair Dan Saraki was unsuccessful in his reelection bid for Oldsmar Mayor. Received a project update on resiliency efforts from Duke Energy. I imagine they're probably getting around to see all of us, but I thought that was very interesting, what they're doing and the investments they're making in Pinellas County electrical infrastructure is very impressive. It's really, so if you haven't had that meeting yet, I think you'll enjoy it and ask some really good questions on what they're doing to harden their infrastructure, and they're really doing a lot. So while we get a little cranky sometimes when they're cutting trees down that irritate our residents, they really are doing a lot to make sure that we're able to survive the next storm better. And I asked a question, on the new poles that they're putting in. They've got the big, I just call them this big hunky thing on the side of it. And I said, what the heck is that? And it's basically a self-repairing system. So if previously it was, and this is an oversimplified version, but system was set up more like a series circuit on an old Christmas tree light, where you lose one, you lose the whole string. Versus now it's more like a parallel system where if one goes down, the system reroutes itself. So you'll have much less impact of power outages. So anyways, I thought that was really kind of neat what they're doing. And I asked for an estimate of, well, how much money do you think you're investing in Pinellas County electrical infrastructure? And they said probably somewhere around $1 billion. So is that what our $20 to $30 a month? I didn't go there, but yeah. But that kind of came to my mind as well. Also attended the Health and Human Services Leadership Board with Commissioner Wicke and Commissioner Latvala last Friday. First time I had been in that board, and honestly, I kind of left there feeling a little, I don't know if confused is the right word, but just trying to understand what the purpose of that board is. It was created in 2007 as a way to try to identify, redundancies and parallel systems and try to streamline efficiencies in just a range of subjects, from juvenile welfare, economic development, job training, mental health, a whole bunch of things. But I didn't really walk away that it really is accomplishing a whole lot, was just kind of my takeaway on it, and I really don't know how necessary is it, and if it's a productive use of time. Now, Commissioner Latvala volunteered to serve on a subcommittee, so maybe after that subcommittee, he'd come back with some thoughts on what he thinks about that. But, I just kind of went down quickly and identified about 30 organizations in the county, whether, not-for-profits or philanthropic organizations or taxing authorities such as, JWB or Pinellas County School Board, Career Source Pinellas, that are already doing bits and pieces of what the mission of that group is. So I don't really know how effective it is, but just something for us to think about in the future, whether or not that's a board that we think is useful going forward. I also attended, not this past Saturday, the Saturday before that, the Coast Guard Auxiliary 75th Anniversary Dinner, which was a very nice meeting. It was at the Clearwater Sailing Center across from Sandkey Park. And this is an organization of just volunteers that volunteer for the Coast Guard Auxiliary for boater safety, to supplement the Coast Guard with their effort and their missions in Pinellas County. And you've got people there that have worked for decades, volunteering 40, 50, sometimes 60 hours a week. So it's just really impressive, the commitment that they have there. So it was really nice to be there and just have an opportunity to say a few words. I did feel a little bad for them in one respect, is they were on their program. There were 7 elected officials that were listed as attendees, 4 from this body and then 3 from the city of Clearwater, and there were only 2 that showed up. Just myself and Mayor Rector, and I kind of felt a little bad for that because you could see that there was a little bit of a disappointment from their perspective on that. So just wanted to just urge that if we do make commitments, we all get busy, we get pulled in 1,000 different directions all the time, but if we can't make something, just send regrets and just to let them know, because I could tell that there was some disappointment on their side for that. But very, very nice event nonetheless. Let's see, attended week before last, Tallahassee, with Barry, with Matt Sporer, and also Commissioner Nowicki. We had meetings with Rep. Burfield, Cross, Cheney, Senator DeSigley, Hooper, Roussan, also with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And also I had a one-on-one with Cody Farrell with the Executive Office of the Governor. really, really good, positive meetings. The items that we just focused on was number one, we hit our CDBG grants, the $813 million, and the intended uses of that. And the purpose for that was, didn't want them to think that this was just money that the county had going to the bottom line that we could spend however we wanted to. We didn't want it to affect any appropriations that we had there. So just made it very clear to them that this money is to help residents. It's not intended to help government. Also highlighted the $42 million for beach renourishment that is set aside specifically for Pinellas County, and that we want to preserve that absolutely at all costs. Talked about how we have a definite interest in indexing our local option fuel tax, or LOFT, to inflation, because that would allow us to lower property taxes, because we have 3 levels of service millage right now for road repaving. And if that LOFT was indexed to inflation, our visitors would probably pay 25 to 30% of that tax. So I don't know if it's going to gain any traction, but that would definitely allow us to lower property taxes if that was indexed to inflation. We talked about Senate Bill 180 and also the House companion bills, which I don't remember what those were, but that affects, it's kind of designed for hurricane rebuilding, but there is some land use language in there that would be retroactive to August 1st of last year. So any land use changes that we had done since then would basically be kind of null and void, including the short-term rental update that we just recently did. So have some concerns with that. A lot of good in that bill, but that's just one item there that would definitely hurt us locally.
What did you feel was the rationale behind going back to August? Sincerely. I want to be cynical about it. Excuse me. I wanted to be cynical about it, but maybe there was some.
I think the spirit, I got two versions of that story. The House side was a little bit different than the Senate version I got, was that to not add undue burdens to people that are trying to rebuild. And I think that's a spirit that we all can get behind and agree with, right? The story I got on the House side is this was written for developers, by developers, and it's just to basically take the restrictor plate off and let them do whatever the heck they want. So there's that.
Yeah.
There were, in other places, there might have been land use changes and comprehensive code changes that people disagreed with. This would make those null and void. Or large developments, maybe south of us.
Okay.
Right. Perhaps south of us, yeah.
What's that?
Perhaps south of us. Yeah.
Okay.
Bleeding north.
Yeah.
So there was that. And then also just to try to do everything we could to preserve the other appropriations requests we had in, which was some money to elevate the traffic signalization control devices along Gulf Boulevard, generators for our emergency special need shelters, and also $15 million for East Lake.
I have one question. So let me ask you more specifically, did we review, were they aware of, I'm sure they were, of the kinds of things that we were trying to put in place on short-term rentals to just kind of help the communities that their efforts 10 years ago didn't? So did that come up, and did you get any feedback?
Well, I brought it up.
Okay.
And was told, yes, thank you, you sent me the video of the public comment, so. Because I sent, or had Colleen send out, when we were having that discussion and we had all that public comment, she sent out on my behalf a link to the video of all of that public comments, just so they understood what it was we were dealing with and what we were trying to accomplish.
I appreciate you doing that.
So.
Because I think at least it opens their eyes to.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So anyways, it was a good meeting. We had a lot of really productive meetings, and I was able to have a one-on-one with Cody Farrell along with Laura Bamer on asking them about Dunedin Causeway, and to see if there was an appetite on FDOT's side to just assume Dunedin Causeway, since that's going to be a $100 million project that we don't really have laying around any. And that dead ends into a state park, and there's about 200 people out there, but 99% of that traffic is going to the state park. So there seemed to be an appetite and an interest there, so Cody is supposed to follow up with me on that. So we'll see what happens with that. And then just finally, just a housekeeping item. there's a lot that comes through the chair's office, probably a little more than what I anticipated going in. So Colleen, my aide, often has to, reach out to all of our offices with, whether it's, resolutions, proclamations, that kind of thing. If you could all just respond back on a timely basis, I would really appreciate it, just being respectful of Colleen's time. Sometimes she's found she's had to go back 3 and 4 times to just get simple answers on things. And we've got a lot of constituent stuff going on right now, as we all know. And just having her having to double back and triple back and quadruple back on some things just consumes her day a lot of times. So if you could help out on that, I would appreciate it. And that is all that I have. So, unless there's anything else for the good of the order, we're adjourned.
Pardon me, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Was 18A covered, resolution for joint meeting to be held?
Oh, is it?
Between the
Is there an
board-
18A?
We boycotted it.
Move approval.
Oh,
Nice catch. Thank you, Bill.
thank you very much. Okay, did not see that. All right, so resolution for joint meeting to be held between the board, County Commissioner of Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Pasco counties. Do we have a date certain for that yet, or?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in the resolution.
Yeah, it's May 2nd.
May 2nd, okay. Okay, can I get a motion for that? All right, motion from Commissioner Wiki, second from Commissioner Flowers. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Dave, okay, passes 7-0. Okay, thank you, everybody, we're adjourned.